And I think that's the biggest value when you said engagement, because people see that you're consistent, one, you care, and they can rely on you. Because people are not going to send a DM or comment on a post when you never respond, or they look and see all these comments, but there's never a response from you. So it takes work, it takes consistency, and you're building trust and community by being that authority figure in your space because you're staying in your lane.
I see my victory so clear. I see my victory so clear. And today, we break through. And today, we break through. And today, we break through. And today.
But I'm just curious if you can touch on, you went on this with a personal brand perspective. And I'm curious to see if you've seen benefits outside of just social media, but in your life as a pharmacist, as a wife, as just a woman working on your own health. Because for me, whenever I launched the Fit Pharmacist, I started to do it for not myself, but for a community. I started to realize that there's people that depend on me. And if I don't feel like it, if I'm tired and don't want to do it, that's letting other people down. So that holds me to a higher standard, which pushes me to drive myself to a higher level. And I'm just curious if you have noticed that same kind of thing, or if you wanted to touch on those.
So one thing I think that has been a really big motivating factor for me is I don't have kids of my own, but I have a lot of little cousins, and I have one poor boy cousin, but I have a lot of little cousins that are girls. And those girls look up to me, and one of them actually follows me on YouTube and follows me on Instagram. And so I think when you talked about that lens that you put them through, part of it is, would this post be something that's appropriate for her to see? She's a teenager. I want to be somebody who is a good influence on her, but also teach her, about her health and about, being able, being a woman doesn't stop you from doing anything. And so for me, that's part of my motivation. And that is the lens that I put that through, because that's what I want to be to them. They call me Aunt Cereal. I want to be the best Aunt Cereal that I can for them. I'm not their aunt, nor the cereal thing is a long story, but I want to do that for them. How I can still serve my audience, but also make sure whenever it's through that lens that it's something that she's able to see and enjoy too. So that is one of the things that's important to me. And as far as my confidence goes, I stepped into the women's health and peds job coming from a pediatric residency. And I loved the women's health side. I had worked at the hospital I'm currently at when I was an intern, and I really enjoyed that. And I missed that a lot whenever I was just doing pediatrics. And so when I came in, I was a little hesitant about the women's health service. And I realized once I got there and was talking with them that they had a lot of errors happening because they didn't have somebody consistently following them. And that was just because, COVID happens, they were down pharmacists, the budget, that sort of thing. So as an overnight pharmacist, I had a little bit more time between orders. So I have actually taken over clinically monitoring all of those patients. I usually have between 20 to 30 women's health service patients a night that I will go ahead and do chart reviews. Depending on what the issue is, if it's something that needs to be addressed immediately, I will wake up a resident. I try not to wake them up though. Usually I will write it down, pass it off to somebody in the morning. So I don't have to wake up the residents because they need sleep too. But I am going through and I'm finding things that can really help these women who are in their, duplicate therapies, or in one case last week, I found something that had popped positive on the results the day before and had just gotten missed that needed to be addressed with a medication. And so I got that medication on board. And those are the types of things that I don't know that I would have been confident in taking on or doing had I not done this personal brand as much as I have. And so that's made a huge difference in my job. As far as my role as a wife, me getting to the point that I understand my job better. And I also struggle with, I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I'm not going to lie.
No.
To be honest, but I'm used to that because as a student, as a resident, you just work all the time. And so I've learned through this brand how to do my things with my brand, and then this is my cutoff point, and this is my day and my time with my husband, and so that is not affecting our relationship, and I'm really doing it in different times. But also when I need help, it's grown us a lot stronger because my husband is my biggest supporter of my brand. I would have to say he is there for every milestone, whether it was the first person to subscribe, which was my grandma, getting my 2,000 followers on Instagram. Like, he's been there through it all. He's helped me on the technology side. He is a Geek Squad manager, so he knows all kinds of fun stuff about the tech side of things and is super helpful there. So it's also become another way for us to connect in a lot of ways, because I'll talk to him, okay, here's my big idea that I want to do. How can I make that happen? And he's the one who helps make it happen. He's helped me so much in this. So it's affected a lot of my life too, from the fitness side of things, because I do want to be that role model. I said just for my cousins, but for also the people who follow me. I also try to be very honest about that on my page, but I do try to work out consistently. I do try to eat healthy on a regular basis, because if I am telling people, hey, you need to be healthy, so anytime I'm posting about mental health or physical fitness or anything like that, I'm also implementing that in my own personal life, which kind of is a good way to, you know, have somebody backing me up and holding me accountable so I actually do those things, because it is hard. It is hard to do those things in your personal life. So having that personal brand has affected multiple areas of my life that I never expected. Even if you had told me when I started your scripture brand course that I would be where I am right now in my life, I would have been like, are you really sure that this is how my life's going to look? But it is, and here I am. So I'm glad I did it.
Absolutely incredible. And from what I've heard, you started with this idea, and I think people come from two different lanes. One is, I had a great mentor, and I want to pay it back because I saw the impact that had. Or I didn't have one, and now I realize how much easier that would have made my life, how great it would have felt to have someone, knowing that there's someone in my corner. So I want to be the mentor I didn't have. Once you accept that role, that's responsibility and integrity. So you want to make sure that you're putting out good content, which was one of the reasons you started your brand in the first place, because all the Insta celebs that were putting out trash. And I know you also follow Dr. Nadolski, who loves talking about this stuff. But
Yes,
I digress.
My favorite.
Oh yeah, he's legit. Yeah. I digress. So when you start realizing, okay, I really need to find this good content, fact-based, all that stuff, that forces you to create competence, knowing the stuff you're putting out. Once you get more competent in your material, that filters into confidence, which allows you to then put yourself out there more frequently and try and grow more where in the areas that before you might not have done because you didn't feel comfortable enough. Not to say you don't put yourself in uncomfortable situations, but because you see the success that you yourself have created, you now are in a place where you can put yourself in that. And it's a cycle that keeps growing. And as that grows, you grow. And it's interesting that this wasn't your intention of upping all areas of your life. I mean, who doesn't want that? But it's kind of like, crap, this is working everywhere. And I think that's absolutely incredible. And one thing that I want to ask as well, as this relates to your career. So when you started, you said there was not a women's health in your place of work. Can you kind of touch on that transition, or if you are pursuing having that by showing value, which is really, if you break down social media and personal brand, it's, do you bring value to the table that would warrant an exchange of someone following you or giving them your email address or whatever it might be. So in your place of work, that same concept, are you demonstrating value to meet that need of preventing errors that you started to notice as it relates to women's care?
I see my victory so clear. I see my victory so clear.